Welcome to the Mac Talks, everybody. I am your host, Scott Johnson. This young dude across the table from me is your co-host, Chase Hutchison.
Good morning, guys.
Today we are on site, off-site actually, remote podcast at Vayner Media with Vayner Sports. Chase, why don't you go ahead and give us the intro for our awesome guest that we have here today?
Absolutely. Today we have AJ Vaynerchuk on the podcast. AJ is an entrepreneur, investor, and co-founder of the athlete representation firm Vayner Sports and the former COO of Vayner Media. AJ, welcome to the Mac Talks. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing today?
Doing really well.
I know we were talking before you shot some hoops, so
Yeah.
probably pretty loose.
Yeah, early start. Got warmed up with some basketball. Feeling pretty good.
Awesome. I know we don't have much time, so I just kind of want to get into just kind of picking your brain and kind of, extracting some of information, some of your story from you. Mm-hmm. I've obviously followed you and Gary for a long time. What you guys have done, what you guys have built, it's really amazing. My thing that I want to speak to you about is culture. I love how you guys talk about culture. I think that is so important. And my question is, how are you and Gary able to build that culture when you're growing at such a fast pace with Vayner Media?
Yeah, the early days of Vayner Media were wild. The first 2 years kind of had this steady growth. We went from just the two of us to 25 employees. But then year 3, we went to about 150. Then year 4 was about 300, et cetera. So that's a great question. And something, it's a little bit obvious, but I think the first part is just the notion of prioritizing culture. I think a lot of times when a business is growing that fast and the money is flowing that way, maybe other organizations focus on sales, marketing, other things, but we always thought that culture was number one because our mindset was that if we could build a team that had that continuity, that enjoyed being at work and working those long hours that growing that fast demanded, we would be more successful at scaling. So a big part of the agency industry is that the average tenure is like a year or two. Mm-hmm. The way that the common sentiment in the advertising agency landscape is that if you want to make more money or get promoted, you need to leave.
Yep.
And we thought that was just a backwards concept. I think for us, you're talking about two guys that started an advertising agency with a combined 0 days of agency experience.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a blessing in the sense that we had a fresh set of eyes. We didn't, I think a lot of people that start ad agencies had worked at one, and they take a lot of what they learn and reapply it. And that's obviously great. But for us, we kind of looked at this notion of, okay, this is broken. Mm-hmm. Like, instead of taking this young rising star and forcing them to leave in order to get a promotion or make more money, let's just promote them and give them more money. And it caused some discourse. I think there was individuals that literally were 2 years into their tenure at Vayner Media. They're maybe 24 years old and have gotten promoted 4 times and were making more money and were more senior than somebody who is 5 years older than them. But for us, it was meritocracy.
Yep.
And so for the people that had a problem with meritocracy, they weeded themselves out, and it allowed us to keep our best people and really built an organization that rewarded actual results and also rewarded culture. We would prioritize culture too.
Yeah, and I know speed is something that that Gary preaches, that you preach. And I mean, how are you able to do it with the speed, but also keep that in place and the way that you kind of want everything to kind of be? I mean, were there times where you were like, because it sounds to me, it's like it's not about that end number of sales. It's more or less about we're going to keep the culture.
Yeah.
And if we need to pull the reins back a little bit to keep the culture,
Oh, we definitely did that.
We'll do that.
Vayner Media, when it was 300 employees, could have been 500 employees.
Yep.
But what we were very cognizant of was we didn't want to build a house of cards. Mm-hmm. And that's also common. You hear of agencies that come out of nowhere, explode, and then implode.
Yep.
And a big reason for that implosion is maybe they land a marquee client, put all their eggs in that basket, grow that business to maybe they're doing $20 million in rev, but one client's 17 of that 20.
Yeah.
And then that $17 million client fires you and you're dead.
Yep.
And so that was another thing that we really focused on was the diversification of our revenue. We never wanted to get too reliant on a single source of income because, agencies get fired.
Yeah.
There's not one successful agency, whether it's advertising or sports, that hasn't been fired before.
Yep.
And so you just need to plan for being fired. And So yeah, we just took a patient approach, which is kind of funny to say when you take a company from 200 to 500 employees in 6 years or whatever
Patient,
it is.
yeah, I know. Imagine if you were going fast.
But we could have been going faster. It's the truth.
Yeah.
And so it was just the notion of, I think, having self-awareness and perspective and always taking a step back and making sure what we were doing was the right thing. And
I think that's how you implement. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
but I think
no,
that's
not
how
at
you that's how you keep culture in place.
Yeah,
is
and
by doing that.
I think also listening. I think whether everybody believed it or not, when Gary and I sat down with an employee on a one-on-one meeting, we would actually genuinely listen, and we would either implement their feedback or tell them why their feedback couldn't be implemented.
Yeah.
I think it's tough if you're an entry-level employee at a company with 500, staff members and multiple levels up the ladder. It's really hard to have all the perspective as to why things are the way they are. So I had plenty of meetings where somebody would come in, I would give them the forum to voice, their thoughts and opinions. And if they had a good idea, I told them they genuinely had a good idea and I would try to implement it. And if they had an idea that was good in theory but didn't work practically, I would literally walk them through like, hey, I know you want to do this and from your perspective it makes sense. Here's why this wouldn't work. Or here's why at least I don't think it would work.
Yep.
And so
I think that's
people
huge,
value
being able
that.
to take that in. Yep.
Yeah.
Being able to take in their information, obviously what, how they feel about the company and stuff, because that's what creates a strong company and a strong culture. So another thing that I know that you kind of spoke a lot about was firing. Now for me, I used to have a business that did screen printing and embroidery, so I had a lot of laborers. And for me, obviously, fired a lot of people doing that.
Yeah.
But I found when I went into the agency and, the agency world and we created Mac Media, I feel it's completely different. Like when you have a laborer that talks on his phone too much,
sure,
it's pretty easy to give them 2 or 3 warnings and to kind of fire them.
Right.
When you've got somebody within the agency world and, they're missing deadlines and they're not, how exactly, I know you say fire fast, but how fast is,
It can be super fast. It really can be. I mean, I'm trying to think. There's been people who have lasted 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that
well,
feels
like what
incredibly
Gary
fast.
says,
Yeah, a lot of times pretty quick. Yeah.
And
And listen, there are instances where maybe somebody isn't a fit 2 weeks in, but you feel as if either given the circumstance or given the issues that are actually there, that you at least owe it to them to give them a few different at-bats in a few different ways to make it work. And once in a while it does work. But then there's other instances where you're 2 weeks in and you just absolutely know that it's not a fit. And then on top of that, the situation and the reason why it's not a fit, it's best just to pull the cord.
Yep.
And listen, it never ever gets easier.
Yeah, that's what that was going to be my next.
Yeah, no,
that's
no. I've unfortunately fired an enormous amount of people in my career in the last 10 years. It emotionally, in practice, it gets easier. You get better at, conveying your point and things of that nature. But emotionally, I had sleepless nights when I had to fire somebody the next morning.
And that kind of goes into what I was going to say, too, about how you openly discussed the stress that led you to. I know that you have Crohn's disease, and obviously stress brings that out more. So it was that give and take that you had.
Yeah.
And I know for me as well, firing people, it's an emotional thing. If you hear it from anybody, a lot of people that have never seen therapists in their lives have to go see therapists because they're firing people.
I went and saw a therapist.
Yeah, exactly. And I know I've heard you talk about that before. And I think that's awesome that you're able to kind of bring that to light and speak about that because, more people need to hear about that type of stuff. And that type of stuff needs to be more on the forefront.
Best thing I ever did for my career was see a therapist when I needed it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one in a few years, but I haven't needed it.
Yep.
But those last probably 2.5 years of running VaynerMedia, I saw a therapist nearly once a week. If there's 52 weeks in a year, I probably saw that therapist 45 weeks out of the 52 during that 2-year stretch.
Yep.
And it was more so a great outlet to take the thoughts that are in your head and convey them out to the open to somebody that is a great listener. It's not to say, and by the way, I spoke to my wife about my stress.
Yeah, it's always different.
And by the way, my brother, my mom, etc. And it's always helpful. But I think what a therapist is trained to do and went to school to do that could really help is not just provide the support, but also provide tips and tricks and methods to help you do a little bit more with self-discovery and working through it. So it was a great outlet for me. I recommend it in an enormous way. For me, the primary topic that we covered was balancing that stress with work and my disease.
Yeah.
That's what I struggle with the most, because as you mentioned with Crohn's disease, stress is the number one trigger for flare-ups. And so it's kind of this vicious cycle. And for me, when I got sick, I got more stressed because I was falling behind at work.
Yeah.
And so it was a tough balance, but it was something that really helped me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, without the Crohn's disease, you probably still need to see a therapist.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Just in business, you know? But
yes.
having that extra thing is like this, like what you said, it's a vicious cycle. So
absolutely.
I know you guys have had lots of different companies, you know, and I know you love to use the brand because the brand is Vayner. I mean, that's the recognizable brand that kind of everybody knows. So if you could speak a little bit about, you know, that brand. I know that, you know, with your brother's personal brand and with everything that you guys have kind of built, you know, is there more things coming with the Vayner name?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. For me, not so much. I like to keep my focus pretty narrow. That was a decision that I made from a personal and business perspective a few years ago. But yeah, I don't see any world where my brother stops pumping out Vayner. It's not going to be every time. Like, for example, he started his own wine brand, direct-to-consumer wine brand, and that's called Empathy Wines.
Yep.
So it's not, you know, it's not going to have to be Vayner Wine or Vayner this every time. But listen, it has some brand equity, and lucky enough, the Vayner prefix kind of rolls pretty good with anything.
Yeah, it really does, right? It really does.
So it's a simple.
So that leads me to my next question, which is, when are they coming out with Vayner Scrapple?
Vayner Scrapple.
Do you know what Scrapple is?
Yeah, I know. I'm familiar. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So that's something to me. I'm from Delaware. We love Scrapple. We go to the Scrapple Apple Festival every year. So I constantly bring it up during the podcast.
Yeah,
Look at them. They're like, is he really bringing up Scrapple again? And I am. Vayner Scrapple. Let's take it to the top.
I think I'll be transparent. I think it's low on the list. if it's on the list.
Yeah, right. The day you guys come out with Vayner Scrapple is the day I lose faith in the brand.
Yeah, by the way, that might be right. We might have jumped the shark at that point.
Yeah, right? That's funny.
So I actually have a question for you because actually this kind of relates to me. Is that I know you were kind of thrust into a little bit of a leadership position at a pretty young age.
Yeah.
You were COO of Vayner Media at the age of 26.
Yeah.
And so I'm 23, and so I'm VP of Business Development at Mac Media. We're still pretty small, but what it means is I still have some leadership capacity there to help.
Yeah.
I'm kind of be Scott's right-hand man. And so my question for you is really, you know, what has leadership been for you? What does it mean for you?
No, it's an excellent question and something I'm thrilled to talk about. Not to correct you for the point of correcting you, but it's, I think, even more applicable. I was a COO the second we started the company at 22. And at 24, when we had 150 people, because when you're 22 and you're the COO of a company that has 6 employees, it's kind of an empty title.
Yeah.
But when we were 150 employees and I was 24, I was truly the COO. And so it's tricky, man. It just, like that, let's start there. Like, it's just the reality of the situation. It doesn't matter how good you are or anything like that. You're dealing with other people's emotions, and there is that perspective. You know, when I was 24, I had 40-year-olds that reported into me. And I'm sure, and I don't blame them, that there were points in times where they're like, are we allowed to curse on this thing?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Where they're like, what the fuck? Right? Like, do I really need to hear it from this 24-year-old kid? But I think something that really helped me, and I've been really fortunate to have a lot of folks that were older than me give me this compliment that they really did respect me as a leader, was I had empathy for that.
Yeah.
You know, I was always mindful of the fact that how I came off was something I needed to be mindful of, especially for somebody that had a lot more experience than I did. And so I stayed in my lane. There were times where I would sit down with somebody who's 10, 15, 20 years my senior, and I think I would really recommend identifying and being self-aware of what you're really good at, and being strong on your points and your points of view within that context, but then also being humble enough to say, hey, listen, I have a really strong opinion on this, but you've been doing this exact thing for 15 years. Tell me what I'm missing, because I'm sure I'm missing something, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm sitting down with a creative director and I'm 24 and I'm not a classic trained creative, and this creative director has won awards, has won business, has done this, I may have my thoughts, and again, that fresh perspective that Gary and I had, I think, was a real conduit for us building this great business. But also having that humbleness and that perspective to say, hey, I know this is what I'm thinking and what I'm driving, but like, you were at this big agency. How did you guys do it for the 5 years you were there?
Yeah.
And being a learner, you know, and wanting that education and actually genuinely listening to it, I think is important.
Yeah. And I think that Gary, and you know, he talks a lot about leading with empathy, and that he has over 800 employees, but really it's like he has over 800 different bosses.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, those are the people that, you're accountable for.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
No,
and by the way, even more, right? The 800 employees are the bosses, but then all the clients.
Yeah,
right?
that's always what I always say.
I remember when we first started VaynerMedia, like my goal and my dream when I was a kid was to be my own boss and have no boss. I hated the student-teacher dynamic. I struggled with it. And then I was like a year or two into VaynerMedia. I'm like, wait, I don't have one boss. I got like 25.
Yeah.
And I was like, kind of fell into this trap, and I missed. That's on me.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the reality.
It's funny because that's exactly what I say to my kids, because they're like, why don't, because we clean the bathroom at our agency. Me and my family do every weekend, because I'm trying to save money, and I'm trying to teach the kids, right? Teach the kids a message. And they're like, why don't you have your employees do this? And I'm like, because he's like, you're the boss. Have the employees do this. And I said, no, the employees get paid to do more important stuff than this.
By the way, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
It's such a good point to bring up, and it's a great anecdote. I had an employee tell me that when this happened was like the highest form of respect he ever had for me and in turn Gary and VaynerMedia. We were maybe 35 employees, and we had a small office with a men's room and a ladies' room. And there was a massive plumbing issue in the men's room.
Yeah.
And I literally just went in there with the plunger and just took care of it.
Yeah.
And he was just like, what the hell? Like, wow. Like, if he's willing to do that, like, this company has what it takes kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just like,
definitely.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's what I say to my kids. I'm like, my bosses are the clients. My bosses are the employees. Like, I have to do this so they can do what they do.
Yep.
So I just can't wait for those little bastards to just get their license so I can send them in, so I can just have them go do it themselves. So
there you go.
So I know that you speak a lot about happiness, and I know that it's really hard because you get stuck in this.
Sure.
When you're in business, especially when you were running the agency, you get stuck in this kind of rut as to where sometimes perception is hard to figure out. It's hard to take kind of a step back.
Yeah.
So I know that you'd kind of mentioned that that you speak to a therapist. I know you play hoops, you exercise.
Yeah.
Do you meditate as well?
Not so much.
Okay.
It's something I romanticize.
You meditate on the basketball court.
Yeah.
By the way, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's two places in the world for me where I'm thought-free and I'm just in the zone and kind of zen. It's the basketball court and the golf course. 100%.
Yeah.
When I'm playing basketball, all I'm thinking about is how to win that game, or how to create a better offense for the team, or how to help more on defense.
Working on you.
Working on me. And even more with golf, right? When it's just you and the ball, right?
Yeah.
Basketball is at least a team sport. There's other dynamics. Golf course, you're there, and it's you and the ball.
Yeah, but you can always reach for that phone when you're on the golf.
You can, but I do a really nice job of staying away from it.
Yeah, no, I get. Yeah, you just turn it off, put it in the bag.
Yeah,
there,
I mean,
so.
I keep it on. Just if my wife needs to, I got 2 kids at home. I can't be that irresponsible.
Yep.
But even if something comes through, I look at it and I say, okay, listen, I'll take care of it in an hour. You know, as long as it's not, I've picked up the phone at the golf course before, but and also, I'm lucky. Even if I have to do something for a minute on the phone, I can go right back into that zen state once I'm back with the club in my hand.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. So let me ask you: when Gary does own the Jets,
yes,
are you going to be the GM?
Yes.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, it's
because I got to be honest.
But listen, Gary's gonna be.
I have more faith in you as
the
GM.
No. I got to give my brother credit.
All right,
He's a tremendous operator, a tremendous mind, but he'll definitely let me build the staff. One thing that's great about being an agent is I interact with front office executives all the time, and I get to make my own opinion on who I think is good at their job and not. And so he'll definitely let me assemble a majority of the staff, and then he'll probably give me a lot of the decision-making power, but let's not get it twisted. He's more Mark Cuban and Jerry Jones than others, so he'll have his input.
I love it.
He'll have his input. The good thing is, though, he and I agree on so much.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So much. Like, we're wired, again, he brainwashed me. So when I say we're wired the same way, it's because he's 11 years older. I never had a shot. And so, and everything, we just think the same way, man. It's crazy.
That's
in
awesome.
every way.
And in a way, but in that sense, you're very similar, but you're also very different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you guys are completely different, but you have such an awesome dynamic that kind of works.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
I would
he
say,
didn't brainwash you to not go to college, though.
Man, I really didn't want to go to school.
No, you didn't?
I really didn't want to. Listen, for our parents were immigrants that gave up a college education to come to America, right?
You had to do it for them.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where I think for immigrants in particular, education's on such a pedestal. And for 2 immigrants that had my brother at a young age and fled a country and pretty much gave up that education. It just mattered to them on an emotional level.
Yeah.
So I did it. I was a good student, and I was able to kind of get by with really good grades with little effort, but I hated it.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yep. Awesome. So real quick, because I know we got to get ready to wrap up soon.
Yeah.
Talk to us about Vayner Sports. I mean, it sounds to me like that's always been a passion of yours, and now you're truly living. I mean, I know
Absolutely.
running the agency and everything was something that was the stepping stone, but you seem like a sports guy.
Oh,
like
yeah.
a
No.
hardcore sports guy.
Absolutely.
So tell us, how many years have you been?
Yep, Vayner Sports is entering we just wrapped up, or will wrap up year 3 next month. And so we're 3 years in. Got 27 NFL clients. We're NFL only for now. Our clients have a wide range of just experience. We got younger guys, we've got veterans, we've guys that were first round picks, we have guys that were undrafted. So offense, defense, special teams. So it's a really eclectic mix of guys. I would say the common thread amongst that group is just the notion of, the type of athlete that we want to work with is somebody that has aspiration beyond the field. And so I'm really proud to say that, we have 2 retired clients right now. Both of them are thriving in their new careers, one with a political startup, one with his own production company. And so,
who's that?
Walter Powell has his own startup called Politiscope.
Nice.
He's co-founder of that company. It's focused on politics and democratizing the information around bills and politics in general.
Yep.
And then our other client, Darian Weems, an offensive lineman, has his own production company based out in California.
That's amazing.
So, a goal for me is that every one of our guys, when they're done playing, thrives in something else as well.
It's so needed. It's unbelievable. I mean, I know I don't need to tell you this because you already know, and it's why you're doing it. But you're not looking for, you're making quick money, I need to make my quick money too. You're like, no, I'm here with you for the long haul. And when you're done being a player, I'm still here to help you with your brand.
Absolutely.
And I think that is something that has really, cutting edge with inside of sports agency stuff. So I commend you for that.
No,
I think
thank
that's
you.
really awesome.
I appreciate it.
And yeah, I know you got to run because you're super busy and stuff like that. We appreciate you letting us come in.
Absolutely.
I think it's awesome. The lady in the kitchen was amazing. She helped us with our coffee. We couldn't figure. We stood no chance in figuring that out. There was no Scrapple in the kitchen, but we're going to work on that for next time. Chase, why don't you go ahead and close us out?
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you're looking to learn more about AJ, you can visit his Instagram at AJV, Twitter at AJV, or his website, www.ajvaynerchuk.com. Of course, visit VaynerMedia and Vayner Sports. AJ, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. It was a pleasure having you.
Awesome, guys.
One more quick question.
Yeah, shoot.
Who's got the better J?
Oh, it's me. Gary will tell
Definitely?
you that too.
He will tell you that?
It's not even close.
Really?
That being said, I would say overall, Gary's probably better. Like, I'm better in basketball. I'm better in golf.
Gary might get more. Gary's yelling at the other guys, getting more out of it.
No, I'm the same way. I'm an animal on the court.
Yeah, right.
I'm an animal.
I'd love to see you guys go.
I'm unhinged on the court.
We got to get some footage of that. I've heard about the when you guys take everybody from the office and go play at your parents' house once a year.
Yeah.
Heard about that. You need some footage of that.
Yeah.
That game right there.
It probably exists.
Yeah, right. That's funny.
But I've got basketball and golf. Gary's got baseball, tennis. Football's a toss-up. We're pretty even. We each got our specializations, but as far as jump shots go, especially jump shots go, Gary will be the first to tell you that I got that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, AJ.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Have a great day.